Vitor Roque has officially finished his season with Atletico Paranaense, and he said his goodbye to fans, which means he will be joining Barca in January. He ended the season with 12 non-penalty goals, only behind Paulinho, and of course, El Pistolero Luis Suarez. So considering all of this, and Lewandowski's suspect form, can Roque actually bench Lewandowski in his first season? And if you haven't seen my original player analysis on Roque and Lewandowski, watch that first. And of course, if you enjoy these kinds of videos, well, you know what to do. But when we compare both Vitor Roque and Lewandowski, there are a few distinct differences that I noticed between the players. And the first one is movement, and when we look at Lewandowski historically, his movement has been special. Even analyzing his play from the Bundesliga, he was renowned for having sharp movement. Looking at this move right here from Coach's voice, we can see Lewandowski understanding Thomas Muller, so he drops deep and allows Muller to exploit that space in behind against Dortmund. And this other move against Mönchengladbach, he visibly notices Muller moving inside to receive the ball, and instead of occupying that exact same space, he breaks the defensive line and exploits that space in behind the defense. Even at the beginning of his tenure with Barca, he actually did maintain a very similar movement. Watching this goal against Valladolid, when we actually did a really good play last season, Lewandowski makes a run in behind. And of course, a lot of people do say that Barca don't create that many chances anymore, which is to an extent fair, but he's almost lost the legs to have any form of useful movement. If you remember that game against Athletic Club, one of the main reasons Coolers were screaming for Mark Yu to feature more in games after that is because he was one of the only players to actually make runs in behind. The same thing applies for Ferran Torres as well. Why do so many people want him to actually play? One, because he first of all actually has better build-up than Lewandowski, and the second reason is because his movement is very good. He moves in behind, has much more athleticism, and actually makes runs behind the defensive line. Now stats actually back this issue up as well. If we look at his touches in the attacking penalty area this season, it's in the 82nd percentile with 5.52, which is not terrible, right? We've seen way worse strikers, but it's not amazing either, compared to a 6.64 last season and 7.39 in the Bundesliga the season before. The other major indicator of his decline is his non-penalty expected goals, which was in the 99th percentile in the last two seasons compared to just the 89th percentile at Barca this season. Unfortunately, if this was the only problem, we could use Lewandowski to some level, but even with the little chances he creates and receives, he lacks any level of finishing. We're talking about a striker who's absent in 90% of matches. If we look at the game against Atleti, he was given 2 clear-cut chances, but of course, he missed both of them. Seriously, if we're expecting to be a threat against the likes of Man City, who have Haaland, and Bayern with Kane, how are we supposed to operate with a striker who isn't clinical? And if you actually look at his non-penalty goals, it's in the 47th percentile. We've also created the most big chances in La Liga, but have underperformed our XG and missed quite a few of those chances as well. The last big question, which I feel is integral with Lewandowski, is his physical level. Lewy's decline can largely be associated after the World Cup, where he was supposedly very tired and not completely fit. He came off of that tournament very rough, and since then he hasn't looked the same. We gave him the benefit of the doubt during the summer, but he was at the same level during preseason and at the start of this season as well. So considering all this, what future does Lewandowski have at this club, and can Vitor Roque replace him this season? And to be quite honest, the answer is yes, he can absolutely replace him.